are going to create a whack-a-mole game. So the whole concept is that little moles are going to appear over the screen. We're going to run our mouse over it with a little hammer. Our score is going to go up and we're going to have a timer of 15 seconds. So the first thing we need is an actual mole. And that's not what I want to do. Click on here, click on the paint. So I'm going to draw a little hole for it to go in. Sorry, actually what I'll do is I'll make it, we'll give it a little black hole. I'm going to choose the circle. So there's a little hole for it to go in. I'm going to grab my paintbrush and a browny colour. Let's put this brightness up. Choose something, maybe that should do. Now, my artistic skills are definitely not wonderful here. So we'll just pop the little mole in like that. I can use the fill just to fill that little bit in. Wow, that is definitely not the greatest mole drawing I've ever done. Let's just fill him in a little bit there. Make him look a bit more like a mole. Let's give him a few. They don't really have eyes, but we'll just give him a little. We'll give him a pink nose. Some of you may be better drawers than I am. That doesn't really look like a mole, but it's done anyway. So let's go back to our code and let's mole 1. Okay. So what we want to happen is we want the mole at the beginning of the game, we want it to be hidden. So when that green flag is clicked, we want it to, under looks, we want it to hide. So it hides. So what I want it to do is I want it to wait a few seconds, a random number of seconds, and then I want it to appear somewhere on the screen, wait for a random number of seconds and hide. So what we need is, and it's going to do this forever, I want it to wait, and I want it to wait a random amount of time, which is down here, pick random. I think I'm going to go anywhere from 0.25 of a second up to 4 seconds. And then I want it to show. So again, looks, show. So I'll stop it. Wait, and it shows. Now what we need to do obviously is go away again. So I'm going to duplicate this and pop it in here. Again, I'm going to give it, quarter of a second to half a second, but this time I want it to hide. So press this. Now 4 seconds might be too long, so you might need to play with your settings there. Now it's always coming up in the same place, which isn't going to be good for this game. So what we want it to do is we want it to go to a random position. So forever, we're going to get it to go somewhere random, wait a random amount of time, show, wait for a random amount of time, hide, and then it loops back up. It's going to go to a random position. So this time it's going to hop all over the screen. Perfect. And I'm going to stop that. Now, what I think is that mole is actually a bit too big, so I'm going to make that just 50% of the size that it is. Yeah, and I think that's a better size if I got to try and catch it. Next step, obviously, is to just make a hammer that we're actually going to whack this mole with. And I am going to change this here down to 3 seconds. So that's not the hardest setting. I think you could make it harder than that, but for now, we're going to do that. So we need a new sprite. I'm going to draw a wooden hammer. Yeah, let's go with that. And let's make a handle on it. Let me just make a black. Oh, what I wanted to do. Sorry, guys. Let's bring this brightness down so I can actually see the colors. No outline on there. That'll do. Click off it, click the rectangle, make a handle. So, I mean, it's nothing particularly fancy. In fact, that needs to, let's grab the arrow, just move that over a little bit. Yeah, that looks like it's in the middle of the hammer now, I think. And I'm going to move the whole thing into the middle there. It's a little bit low. Oh, just use the arrow keys. And this is our hammer. Now, with the hammer, I just want the hammer to follow my mouse. Again, that's too big, so let's make it 50% that size. And I just want the mole to follow my hammer. So what we want is when the green flag is clicked, we want it to go to. So we're going to do this forever. Motion, go to, mouse pointer, stop and start it again. And now you'll see it just follows my mouse. Now, obviously what we want to happen is if I move it onto my mole, I want to get a score. In order to get a score, we need a variable. So variables, make a variable, moles whacked, click OK. So what we want to happen is, if that hammer touches the mole, we want that score to go up. I'm going to do this on the mole because I'm actually going to have more than one mole. So I only want to type this code once, so I'm going to put it on the mole. So when the green flag is clicked, I can do this separately. Again, when the green flag is clicked, if touching, and we're going to do this forever again. We want to sense something. If touching, and it's the hammer. And your score is going to go up, so variables. So if you touch that mole, the score should go up. So we change the moles whacked by 1. Now, you might remember from when we made Pong, can you see it went up lots? So what I actually want to happen is I'm going to put a weight in. So put the weight in, change the moles whacked, and then wait a second. So it definitely can't loop back around here again. And let's try it, 13, 14. Now, when I press stop and green flag again, obviously something should happen, shouldn't it? The score should go to 0. Now, I only want this to happen once, so I'm going to put up my hammer. And in fact, I can just do it here. So back down to variables, set moles whacked to 0, stop the game, start the game. Oh, now, see what was wrong with that? So when it touches the mole should hide. So if touching hammer, looks, hide, and then change the moles whacked. Ooh, yeah, got them all. Okay, so that's working much better now as a game on there. What we need to do also is have a timer. So I'm going to do this on the hammer variable. And we're going to give them 15 seconds on that timer. So when that green flag is clicked, we are going to set the timer to 15. Then what we're going to do is we're going to repeat until it gets to 0. So we know that we're going to repeat this 15 times. We're going to wait 1 second, because it's going to be at 15, so we want to wait 1 second, and then we want to reduce that by 1. Variables, change, and obviously not moles whacked, change timer. And if we want it to go down, it obviously has to be -1. So let's just try that timer. You can see it's lit up, and look, the timer is going down. And we'll wait till it goes down fully. Now notice how I've still got the mole going and everything. The timer is 0, but like I've still got everything. So really what should happen, let's just press stop here, is if timer is 0, then these guys should hide. So again, I'll put it on its own loop. When the green flag is clicked, and we're going to check this forever, if the timer, now notice how it doesn't fit in, it's a different shape, so we need to compare something, so we need to use our operators. If the timer is equal to 0, so forever, if the timer gets to 0, looks, hide, and we're going to use this exact same piece of code on our hammer. So if you look, I have just dragged it on there. There it is there. When the green flag is clicked, if the timer gets to 0, they're going to hide. So we'll test it as we go. Right, so that's them gone. Now, it might be quite nice if we had something that popped up and said, well done, you scored, or, you know. So what we can do is we can draw a little sprite, or we can just pick one of the sprites. So we can get the balloon. So what we're going to do is, when the green flag is clicked, we don't want the balloon to appear. So we're going to say, looks, hide. And then we're going to say forever. What we're doing, if the score is equal to 0, or sorry, if the timer, so we need one of these equals, if the timer is equal to 0, and you could have taken this code off the mole or the hammer. If the timer is 0, that's when we actually want it to show. And then I'm going to get it to say something, which weirdly enough is under looks. I'm going to get it to say, and I want it to say 2 different things. So I'm going to get a join your score is, and then we're going to get the variable, number of moles whacked. So your score is, and then it will say moles whacked. Now, there's definitely a problem. Right, actually, I think what happened there is it might have just caught that the timer was 0. So I'm just going to put a little wait in here. Control. I'm just going to put it in a wait 1 second, just in case that timer is actually 0 at the beginning of the game, in which case it would do this. So it's just neatening up the game. Now we've got a problem, haven't we? So the hammer hasn't shown. So we need to press stop, go to the hammer. So when the green flag is clicked, we want it to appear. So looks, show. So personally, I think this game is a little bit too easy at the moment. But look, there we go. It says my score. Now, how would I fix that? So have a little try at fixing.